Will Saitama and Garou remember anything that happened in the last couple chapters? Is Garou done for good, or does he still have some fight left in him? These are a couple questions I hope get answered in chapter 169, and in today's video I wanted to go over a few things we might see happen in chapter 169, along with a couple things I hope happen in chapter 169 to help bring this long and amazing Monster Association arc to an end. But before that, if you guys enjoy One Punch Man related content like this, please make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications because I post multiple times a week covering various One Punch Man theories, chapter reviews, and just general discussion. So if that's something you're into, make sure to subscribe. But without further ado, let's get into it. So like I said in the beginning, one thing I do really want to see get cleared up in chapter 169 is whether or not Saitama and Garou are going to retain any of their memories from the last couple chapters, the incredible fight that they had on Io, and the fact that Garou actually died in that alternate timeline. And the reason I hope that they do remember at least some of it is that I think there was a lot of crucial character development for both Garou and Saitama that occurred in this last chapter just before Saitama time traveled. Garou's character came full circle when he realized that the humanity that he was clinging onto in Terrio was what he really appreciated the most, and he realized that becoming the absolute evil and becoming a straight up monster wasn't the answer to creating a better world. And on the flip side, we saw Saitama become the most unhinged that we've ever seen him before, and coming to grips with truly how limitless his power is, and how even when presented with the fight that he's been looking for so long, he still felt empty. I definitely think would give Saitama an interesting aspect to his character going forward in the story as he tries to kind of reconcile with all of these thoughts and feelings of detachment from society and humanity. You know, maybe we'll see some soul-searching Saitama in the coming chapters if he does end up remembering what happened. Now maybe in chapter 169 we'll see everybody kind of reacting to what just happened at the end of chapter 168, where Saitama just knocks Garou right in the face, causing his power to leak out. And then maybe the memories start coming back to Saitama and Garou. Maybe there's just kind of like a delayed reaction for them. And if that's not the case, it might be possible that the core that Saitama still has from the previous dead Genos might have like a Death Note effect to it, to where if you touch it, the memories of that timeline kind of come to you. Like when someone who gives up a Death Note touches the Death Note again, all those memories come back to them, you know? I'm not really sure how One and Murata would write it to where Garou touches this core and gets all of his memories, which is why I think it's a pretty far-fetched idea, and it's something we probably won't see, but I think it would be pretty interesting. This is all to say that I really do hope Saitama and Garou get their memories, because I do think they deserve to just know exactly how insane that whole fight was. Now, aside from that, there still are some loose ends that we have to tie up before this arc is over, and I think some of that stuff we're going to be seeing in chapter 169, like, for example, how PSYKOS is still kind of lurking around over there, still alive. And if you guys are familiar with the webcomic, we know that there's still some things for her to do in this arc, and in particular, have her face off with Fubuki. Now, I will be coming into some light webcomic spoilers going forward, so definitely tread carefully, but something that we also have to see is kind of that moment where the entire S-Class basically demands Saitama to kill Garou and get rid of him for good. And what we also see in the webcomic is when Garou is fully weakened, Bang pulls up and just gives him a good old beating and just like completely kicks his ass. And this is definitely something that I do think we're going to see in chapter 169, maybe the chapter after that, but I think it'd make the most sense for it to happen in this coming chapter, where Garou is completely weakened because of, you know, the loss of God's power, and then Bang gives him some good old-fashioned tough love. Now, maybe we see the rest of the S-Class jump in and fully take him out, make it kind of like a spectacle for everybody that's there, all the regular humans that are there, and that'll kind of give things an out to where they get the credit for defeating Garou, the S-Class as a team, or maybe a few S-Class members, and kind of have Saitama take a back seat like he does with a lot of these huge events in the story. Because, you know, let's be real, guys, we know that Saitama's probably not going to get most of the credit for this whole thing being taken care of. Now, if we don't have Saitama and Garou getting their memories back, then this might be a good time for Saitama and Garou to have their conversation like they did in chapter 168, when all the S-Class heroes are demanding that Saitama kill Garou, but Saitama refuses. And we kind of get a back and forth between both of them, finally settling things and having Garou just kind of go on his own way. Because, you know, for those of you that have read the webcomic, we know that Garou doesn't die here. He still has some relevance to the story going forward, although not much. Now, as I previously mentioned, we still need to see PSYKOS have her confrontation with Fubuki. Now, I don't know if this is going to take place in the form of a straight up fight between both of them that lasts, you know, 1 or 2 chapters, or if it's just kind of like a conversation that leads to her fleeing with Fubuki, and we kind of get to see the ramifications of that in later chapters. I don't think it's totally necessary to address it immediately, but it does need to be addressed. One thing I do really want to get cleared up in this next chapter is whether or not Blast is aware of everything that happened, because since we know that he can kind of shift dimensions and bounce between dimensions and have these cosmic abilities, there is a possibility that he isn't affected by the memory wiping of time travel that might be occurring here. This would allow him to be aware of Saitama's real strength and might give us some interesting dynamics between him and Saitama going forward when we get the next big arc of this story, which is the Neo Heroes arc. But there is a possibility that this current Blast in the current timeline doesn't remember anything that happened because it technically didn't happen. And Blast just quickly pops in to see that everything's okay and fades back into the background like he has been for the majority of this story. Which I think is fine too. I mean, One Punch Man seems like it's not ending anytime soon, so I don't mind waiting to see more Blast developments, taking a little bit longer than they normally would if he was aware of everything that happened. But nonetheless, I would like to see him in chapter 169 just so we can get a good idea of where he's at. But what do you guys think? What do you think we're going to be seeing in chapter 169? Do you think it's going to follow the mold of the webcomic, or do you think it's going to take a different direction like many parts of this story so far have been going? I do enjoy that One Murata have been mixing things up because it does add a layer of mystery to each coming chapter, even though we kind of know the major plot points that are going to happen. It still leaves us wondering a little bit, which I think is nice. But yeah, share your thoughts in the comments. I do really appreciate you guys sharing your opinions whenever I put a video out. Agree or disagree, your opinion is valid and I want to know about it. It gives me a lot to think about. So aside from that, if you like this video, please make sure to drop a like. It really helps me out. I'm still a pretty fresh channel. And it'll let me know if I should keep making content like this for you guys, because I want to keep you entertained. But that's it for this one today, guys. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.